other employer needs to withdraw the selected application, like petition?
No, there is no way for an employer to actually withdraw the CAP registration, but again, they don't have to do it. Okay. The other thing is, as an employee, you need to make sure that you can defend yourself in case of a USCIS audit as to why you have submitted registration on behalf of a particular employee, right? So if you're submitting registration on behalf of an employee, make sure you have paperwork to show that it was for a legitimate job offer.
Okay.
Okay.
And we have one from Monica. She says, how do we have to wait for not applying the change of status after H1B has picked up? I am not exactly sure of this question.
Okay, so Monica, to answer, I guess she's on F1 and then trying to see how she should be applying for change of status or when she should be applying for change of status.
Yeah, how long we need to wait?
Yeah, you need to wait, right? So Monica, depending on when your OPT expires, OPT or CPT, right? So depending on when your OPT or CPT expires, in case if your employer has, like if multiple employers have submitted registration, multiple registration on your behalf, I recommend just waiting for at least a year or so before you apply for, like you go for H1B stamping or apply for a change of status.
Santosh Garu, we have one from Priyanka. She says, I got my EAD with the ex-employer and joined the other company after 6 months using EAD. Traveling out of country is recommended. Is it recommended, or what are the pros and cons?
So I am assuming that Priyanka is referring to GC EAD, right, Priyanka? Yes. Okay. So you're changing the company would not have any effect on your travel. So as long as you have a valid advance parole, you can travel outside the country. Okay. So now I'm assuming that since you have already used EAD, you no longer hold H1 or H4 status. So I highly recommend that you wait until your advance parole is approved before you travel outside the country. If not, it could affect your 485 application.
So I got my advance parole also.
Yeah. So if an advance parole, then there is no restriction. You can travel.
So if I travel out of the country, like, will I lose my H1? I mean, like, if I want, in case, like, after in future.
So you have already used your EAD, right? Yeah. Once you have used your EAD, you're no longer on H1B. But at a later point of time, you could always apply for H1B under CAP exempt.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
We have one question. It says, if the legitimate job offer that employer offered to a registrant is not valid anymore, is there any way I can withdraw registrant from the selected second lottery?
Okay. There is no way for you to withdraw the registration call, but you need, like, if it will not really affect you as long as you're maintaining proper documentation to show that a legitimate job offer actually existed at the time of submitting the registration. Okay, so that's why I always recommend my employers to issue a proper job offer letter to the employee, have them sign it, keep documented before you submit the registration. Okay, unfortunately, there are a lot of employers who are not issuing an offer letter before submitting the registration. This is very risky. In case if USCIS comes back and conducts an audit, and if they realize that the employer has submitted registrations without even issuing an offer letter, then it's clearly evident that the employer has submitted registrations without a legitimate job offer.
We have one question from Prashant Irasani Garu. What's the best option for kids turning 21 and their priority date is 2022 or 2023? Staying back in US and convert to F1 or OPT and subsequently try for the H1?
Started the green card process in April 2023. Max out is June. Can we extra even 40 approval? Okay, so I am assuming that he is applying like under EB1, right, Prashant?
No, that's EB2. EB2.
Well, if it's EB2, then your priority date will not be current anytime soon, right? If you just started the process, unless you have priority date from before.
No, I think my question is like, I mean, before the max out date, whether the I-140 can be approved or not. I mean,
This is confused. Like, okay, can we discuss offline, because your question is not like, how does a 140, like, you need to apply for 485 before he maxes out. Okay, and also there is something called Child Status Protection Act, so wherein you can subtract the number of days that the I-140 petition is pending with USCIS
okay.
from your child's age.
Right. Okay, sure. Then
And once you subtract, as long as it's within the 21 years age, then you should be fine.
Okay, I think, yeah. So maybe it's a bit confusing. So I'll probably reach out offline.
Okay, fine.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you.
Yeah.
We have question asking, will the rules will be changed from the next year? The
Well,
H1B.
as I mentioned, right, the only thing that could probably change, they could become a little more strict. And also, instead of conducting the lotteries based on the number of registrations, they might conduct based on the number of employees. So even if you apply registrations to multiple employers, they might consider it as one and then conduct the lottery. Okay, and also, just because someone's H-1B petition did not get picked up in lottery does not mean that they cannot get onto H-1B status. So there are a lot of cap exempt employers for whom you could continue working without having to go through the lottery process. Okay, so while you're actually employed with these cap exempt employers, you could actually be working for a cap subject employer also, like an IT consulting firm, using concurrent H-1B. Okay, so assume that you're working as a data analyst. Your petition did not get selected in lottery. If you are able to secure even a part-time position with a non-profit organization, which would be considered as a cap exempt employer, then while working for that employer, you could actually be working for a typical IT consulting firm as a full-time employee or a part-time employee, even though your petition did not get selected in lottery. But you have to continue working for that non-profit organization until as long as you're employed with this entity also. Does anyone have any questions regarding this? Yeah. So somebody's asking.
I do have a question about what you just talked. Like, so
Yeah.
we need to employ it as a part-time with a non-profit organization till we can be employed with the other organization full-time.
Yes.
Status like our EAD will be over, right? Like if you are on the STEM OPT. So
if you're on STEM OPT, then you do not get into this situation, right? For example, if you're STEM OPT, then you'll continue working on your STEM OPT.
No, I mean after STEM OPT expire.
After your STEM OPT expires, right? Then what you would do is, for example, if your petition did not get selected in lottery, and if you're able to secure a job with these cap exempt employers, right? Then while you're working for this cap exempt employer, your current employer can also file a concurrent H-1B on your behalf without having to go through the lottery process.
Oh, so two H-1B processes.
Yes, you can have two H-1s at the same time. Okay, but you have to continue working for that non-profit organization. If not, you lose your H-1, this H-1B also.
So is it okay? I've been hearing we should only work for one employer while on H-1B.
No, you can work for multiple employers on H-1B. That's why
both has to file. But both the employers has to file for H-1.
Yes, both of them have to file for your H-1B. Okay. Also, H-1B can be for a full-time position. It could be for a part-time position, or it could be for a range of hours. So, for example, if an employer wants to hire you only for 10 hours on H-1B, they can do so. It need not be for a full-time position. Okay. They can also hire you for a range of hours. For example, if they want you to work for anything between 20 to 35 hours, they can still do that.
Yeah.
So
Will
H1B
they exceed 40
individual
hours?
need not be a full-time employee.
So in that case, can someone work more than 40 hours, Santosh?
Yeah. So it's okay. Like, okay, they can work for more than 40 hours. There is no issue with that. Yeah, we have 5 current H1Bs wherein the individuals were working 40 full-time, both full-time positions. Okay, but they cannot be 3 full-time positions. They could be 2 full-time positions. That's not an issue.
Okay.
Okay, and also there is another issue that has been raised. So there are a lot of individuals who work on multiple projects, right, for the same employer. Assume that you're working as a full-time H1B employee for your company, right, and you're working for 2 projects and you're billing 80 hours. The employer need not pay you for 80 hours. Okay, so as a full-time employee, unless you are not exempt, like the position is not exempt by the Fair Labor Standards Act, the employer is not required to pay for the overtime time. Is that clear, or do you want me to go discuss that in more detail?
Can you repeat that, Santosh, one more time?
Good.
Sorry.
So assume that you are working for a company ABC Corp, right? You're a full-time employee working on H1B. So your employer was able to secure 2 projects for you. In one project you'll be working 40 hours. In other project you're working 40 hours. Both the projects you're working from your home address, right? So when your employer need not run the payroll for 80 hours, okay, because as long as the position is considered exempt under Fair Labor Standards Act, which most of the IT positions are, especially where you are making more than 60K, right? All these positions fall under the Fair Labor, are exempt from the Fair Labor Standards Act, because of which the employer is not required to pay them overtime. So even though you're submitting timesheet for 80 hours, they just need to run your payroll for 40 hours, unless it's part of your contract. If the offer letter exactly states that they will be paying you overtime, then they have to do that. But unless if it doesn't state that, and if it clearly states that it's for an exempt position, they are not required to pay you overtime.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So there's one more question, Andy. New employer, can we move to the new employer on EAD with an I-94 expiring soon, having worked on H1B with previous employer?
Whose question is that? I'm trying to just see that question. Honestly.
We need posted a question saying.
Okay, can we move to a new employer on EAD with an I-94 expiring soon and having worked on H1B with previous employer? Yeah, that is perfectly fine. So see, as long as you have already filed your 485, so you're authorized to stay in the country with a valid I-94, like with a valid EAD, you can continue working for the new employer. You can move anytime. So your I-94 should not have expired before filing the 485.
So once we move to, sorry, Andy, so do we have to again renew I-94 if we start working on EAD?
No, you mean GC EAD, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you are if you are working on EAD, you cannot extend your I-94.
Okay.
Okay, and it's not required to.
Okay. Thank you.
Santosh garu, I have a question from a friend offline. So he's saying he got laid off recently, and while he was getting laid off, during this process, his employer filed for his extension, and his question is do he still get 60 days H1B grace period after the last employment date, or how does it work?
Good. An employee has 60 days as long as their I-94 is valid. Okay, that's first condition. They should have a valid I-94. So if his I-94 is already expiring, then the 60 days would not really apply to him. right? So only for the duration that his I-94 is valid, right? Even if he loses his job, he has 60 days to either transfer his H-1B to a different employer or to change his status to different status, maybe H4, B2, whatever, or leave the country. And that 60-day period starts from the day of his last employment with the company.
Got it. Thanks, Andy. And I think
Okay.
something.
So if his I-94 is expiring within 30 days, then that 60-day period is reduced to 30 days.
Okay.
Hi, Santosh. Thanks for answering all these questions. So, say if there's a chance of second lottery this year, so what is the process and when does it get started, and how would somebody prepare if they have already been in the first lottery?
Well, the process will be the same, right? So once the petition gets selected in lottery, they have 90 days to submit the petition with USCIS. Okay, so especially the bigger challenge would be for those individuals whose OPT is expiring in the next 3 or 4 months. So for those individuals to be eligible for cap, they have to submit the registrations, the H-1B petition in itself before their current OPT expires. But other than that, the rules will be the same, whether it's for the first selection or second selection.
So do they get notified like that?
Yeah,
They got
the employer will get notified once the second lottery happens, if at all. We are not 100% sure whether it will happen, but there's a good chance that it might happen this year.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Santosh. I have a question. So I got my H-1B in October 2022, and I recently got laid off. And my wife is on F1, like she's studying over here. So can I move to F2 now and then get the I-20 from the university and then again move to H-1B once I am able to find the job? Or let's say for other things, like can I move to B1, B2 and then come back on H-1B once I find a job? Is this doable?
So in your case, F2 could be is a better option, especially if you have a valid visa stamping.
Yes. So I had a visa stamping for H-1B.
How long is your visa stamping valid?
In June 2025.
2025. Okay. So in your case, I recommend changing your status to F2 so that you have ample amount of time to find a new project. Once you find a new project, you can either apply for a change of status from F2 to H1, okay, or a request for consular notification of your H1B. So, for example, if you apply for a change of status from F2 to H1, right, USCIS may not approve your H1B with change of status until your F2 is approved, right? Okay. So, if you want to avoid that RFE, you could always request for consular notification. Once H1B is approved, you can go out of the country to either Canada or Mexico, come back in with the existing visa. So you don't have to go for stamping, but you'll just get a new I-94.
So basically you're saying that first I should, like, my wife should file a petition with the college, which will be like eventually.
Yeah, so it's pretty simple. So all she needs to do is she needs to get an F2 I-20 from the college. Once you receive it, then you apply I-539 form to change your status from H1B to F2.
Okay. And then once I get the job, then again I have to file this.
Yeah, so once you get a job, then your new employer asks them to file your H1B under premium processing.
Okay.
So by that time, if your F2 is approved, then you can request for a change of status from F2 to H1. If your F2 is not approved by then what you will do is you will just request for consular notification. And once H1B is approved, you will go out of the country and come back in using your current visa.
Okay. And so generally, like, let's say my 60 days are over when my and my F2 is not still approved, then also I can stay in the country.
Yeah, you can still continue work. Like, see, you can still be stay. Like, as long as you apply for F2 before the 60-day period, you should be fine.
Okay.
Okay, make sure you apply and receive the receipt notice before the 60-day period.
Okay. So that would be a good solution.
Yeah. Okay. Because with B2 is also an option for you, but with B2 you have only 6 months, right? But whereas with if you change to F2, then you have a lot more period available, especially considering the current market conditions.
Okay, and I should, like, since I already have an H1B for till June 2025, I don't need to go back to lottery once I find a job, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Thank you very much, Santosh.
Yeah,
Right.
you're welcome.
Hello,
So,
Santosh Reddy.
Carl. Hello.
Can I have a
Yeah, Santosh, I have a question.
Sure.
During lockdown period, I didn't receive enough 5 months of pay stubs. I just came, to USA just before COVID. So during COVID, I didn't receive 5 months of pay stubs in the year 2020. After that, I changed my employer couple of times. I didn't get any, troubleshoot during change of my H1B to other employers. Is there any problem in the future at the time of green card or any other time?
There could be an issue about it. Let's discuss this offline. Also, your employer should be paying you the salary. If you are here on H1B and if he's holding your H1B, they have to pay you the salary.
Yeah, they didn't run my pay stubs also. When I requested also, they didn't provide it. Even W2 also, they didn't show those pay stubs.
Yeah, so if you can prove that, yeah, you are actually employed with them and that you are interviewing with them during that period, then you could actually sue them for the back pay.
Great, thank you. I'll contact you in the offline.
Yeah, sure, we'll be happy to help you with that.
Santosh garu, small question, Andy. If the employee is on OPT status after the H1B is approved, can he go to India and come back for vacation?
Good. Is that Carl?
Kalpana.
Kalpana, okay.
Santosh garu.
Kalpana, hi. So you did raise a very good question. There is something called last action rule. Okay, you can Google it online. So there's something called last action rule. So, for example, if you have multiple petitions pending with USCIS, right? Whichever petition gets approved in the last will be your current status, because you can hold only one status at a time. Okay? Whereas when it comes to H1Bs, cap H1B, the petition is going to start from October 1st. Right? So even if you come back, once your H1B is approved with I-94, right? If you come back anytime before October 1st on F1, your status will automatically change to H1 as of October 1st.
Okay. What if it's a consular processing?
If it's a consular processing, then it won't.
Okay.
Right? Because you will not receive that I-94 if it's consular processing.
Okay. Okay.
Right?
So he should
only
be
if you
able
have
to come
received
back.
I-94, then your status will automatically change to H1B as long as you're in the country as of October 1st.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Okay. Yeah.
And one more question, Santosh.
Sorry, go ahead, Kalpana.
Yeah. So if I have a cousin who is a UK citizen and he has applied for the H1B. So once after entering into the country as a H1B, can he still come back as a visitor, as a UK citizen?
Yeah, he can do that.
Okay. He can switch between H1B or...
Yes,
okay.
yes. But he can hold only one visa status at a time.
Okay. Got it.
When he's, yeah.
Santosh garu, for OPT, whoever is in OPT, can the employer be able to apply a green card if the person is a green UK citizen, because that is current?
Well, it's not being the citizenship that we have looked at. We have looked at the country of birth.
Yeah, born is in UK.
If they are born in the UK, then yes, a lot of times if the person is born in any other country except for India, China, right? We do their green cards while they're on F1 OPT.
So what do you suggest my daughter when she she gets it? So she is in final year of the college.
Yeah. So for her, instead of going through the H1B process, maybe her best bet is to just have somebody sponsor her green card. And then since her date would most probably be current, she would be able to adjust her status in the US.
Because getting a lottery cap is difficult.
Is tougher than yes.
So as soon as she gets any job, the
employer can submit her registration depending on her job profile and her qualifications. So once the I-140 is approved, and as long as the prior date is current for UK citizens, she can apply for adjustment of status.
But
the only challenge is that once you apply for I-140, she may have issues being able to extend her F1 status, F1 visa. Okay. But again, since her date would be current, and then if she is already here, then she can directly apply for adjustment of status. So this won't even be an issue in her case.
But what category do they normally apply? Because he will not have any experience because he's just fresh out of the college. So is it EB3 they normally apply or?
Well, it depends. So, for example, if she has a master's degree, then it will be an EB3 category, right? If she has a master's and the position actually requires master's, then she would qualify for EB2.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Santosh Garu, this is
Yeah,
Srikanth. So one of my cousin recently, he has he become a citizen, and he's trying to get married from an India. So what would you suggest? I mean, K10 visa, I think that is taking around 1 to 1.5 year, I guess. So is there any other?
So K is also taking. So the best option is he already married or is he planning?
He's still in searching. So
okay. So it will be a good idea if his future wife comes here on any other visa. Okay. So if he's already married, then she will not be eligible for F1 or B1. But if he's not married, and if the individual already has an F1 or B1, if she's already in the US, then he can apply for I-113 adjustment of status concurrently when she's in the US. But if not, this is taking almost 1.5 to 2 years now.
Oh yeah. So better option would be F1 or B2.
Yeah, if he's married, then if she can come here on H1 or L1 or F1, like one of these options would be better.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Hey Santosh, I have another question. So one of my cousin also got laid off, and he actually received like 2 job offers. So first job so he was in the 60-day period, but he had accepted the first job offer, whichever he got, and then again he got a better offer. So now, like, one company has already started his transferring process. So can he go for another transfer, or he has to wait till that company's new I-797 comes and then he can transfer on that, or he can transfer the visa on like the current I-797?
Good. So typically, if a person files a H-1B transfer within the 60-day period, they can continue working for that employer even when the petition is pending with USCIS. Right?
Okay.
So in your cousin's case, he is okay with working for employer A who filed his petition within the 60-day period. Right?
Okay.
Whereas when it comes to company B, I highly recommend that he get the approval first before starting to work for that employer.
Okay. Makes sense.
And these days, even if it's been past 60 days, USC has not been, has been just approving it, but still I recommend not to start working until the petition is approved. Once you cross the 60-day period, make sure you do not work until the petition is approved. If it's within the 60-day period, you can continue working for the employer with the receipt notice.
Okay. So basically, he should then not go with the employer second, because one employer has already started his process and then he has to wait till...
He can go for employer 2, but make sure he does not join them until the H-1B is approved.
Okay. And he has to give the current I-797 copy for the transfer, right?
But not necessarily, because he already has if he has a valid I-94, there are ways to work around that.
Okay, sure.
Okay, yeah.
Hi, Santosh Garu. We have one question. I think we missed that from Prashant Irisani Garu. He asked, employers started the green card process in April 2023. Max out is June 2025. Can we expect I-140 approval by...
I think I responded to that one.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I think I stitched, right, Prashant?
Yeah, he has 2 questions.
Okay.
So he was asking, can we expect I-140 approval by June 2025?
Yeah, I-140 approval does not make any difference for him. The prior date has to become current before his child reaches 21 years of old. When I say, 21 years of old, that's the CSPA age, Child Status Protection Act age. So we discussed about it.
Okay. Yes, I got it. I have
because this question is confusing and it will confuse everybody, all the audiences. Because it's not I-140 approval he should be looking at. He should be looking at when the prior date will become current.
Okay.
Because even if he receives I-140 approval, it does not make any difference.
Okay. And we have one more offline question, like, I have approved I-140 and I'm in India since 2018. I have not worked in IT for these 5 years. My employer filed for extension, and it's not approved now. It's approved now. Sorry, it's approved now. Will it be a problem if I go to a stamping, not having worked in IT for last 5 years?
No. As long as they meet the position requirements for example, if the IT position that they are working, if it just requires a bachelor's degree in computer science, and if he has the degree, then that should be sufficient.
Okay, thank you, Andy.
Okay, yeah.
You just talked about L1 visa, right? Can you please tell what are the limitations and benefits of that visa?
Which one?
L1.
L1. Did you post a question here? Let me see. What is the question?
No, I haven't posted any question.
Okay.
There is
so
a
the
H1
issue
L1.
with L1, the issue with L1 is that you cannot change your employers while in the US. Right? So unless, for example, when you can only be employed by a company on L1B if it's a subsidiary or a parent company or affiliate of the Indian entity.
If the company is based in US and we came here on L1 visa.
Yeah, you came here using L1 visa for this company only because it is related to your Indian entity, the entity that you work for. Right? So you cannot change L1, you cannot transfer L1 to another entity now. You could always go for H1B or F1 or B1, but you cannot transfer L1.
Okay. So as you mentioned about H1, we can work with multiple employers, while on L1, can we do that?
Yes. So you cannot do that for L1. Okay. But now what you could do is if you're able to find a cap exempt H1B employer, right? Then you can transfer from L1 to H1.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So while working for this cap exempt employer, you could always work for a cap subject employer also, like an IT consulting.
Yeah.
Using concurrent
While on
H1B.
L1, we don't have any such option like multiple employer working.
Not for L1.
Okay, got it. Yeah, thank you.
Concurrent H1B employees can work for multiple companies, but not L.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Okay.
We have one question from Sai Kumar Garuandi. Let's say if my company files I-140 in Jan 2024, when can we expect the projected date of I-140 approval as per the current visa rules?
Well, if they are applying for a I-140 under premium processing, you get the approval within 15 days. If it's regular processing, you're looking at almost 6 months, 5 to 6 months.
So if I'm willing to pay the premium processing, so will it be feasible then?
Yeah. So, but your employer should agree to that, right?
So if that's a case, how much would be the amount? Any idea?
15 days. 15 days.
The amount, the fee for that, the premium.
Yeah. So if you're filing I-140 under premium processing, then you get the approval in 15 days.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
We have one question from Prasad Kunarapugaru. If an employer applies a H1B petition for a candidate who is on H4 in US, if the candidate goes to India for a vacation, what happens to the H1B petition? Is it going to be suspended?
H1B petition would not be suspended, but let me understand this. So did you apply for a change of status from H4 to H1 or just H1B petition with constant notification?
Change of status, Santosh Garu.
In change of status, right? So if you applied for a change of status from H4 to H1, her status would be H1 as of October 1st, right? So if she goes to India, I didn't quite understand. What was your question?
If we apply H1B petition for an candidate who is an H4 and in US, because of some reason, if she or he goes to India, comes back before October 1st on H4 visa, before that, comes back in August.
Okay. The same thing applies. Last action rule. right? So if you have already, but she should travel only after the H1B is approved, because then only she will receive that I-94. That starts from October 1st. So assume that you are a H4 individual for whom you need to submit H1 petition, and you're submitting it along with the change of status today. And assume that her I-94 H1B is approved with I-94, which is going to start from October 1st. And after the H1B is approved, she goes out of the country. She comes back in before October 1st on H4.
Yeah.
Right? Then she'll automatically be on H1B as of October 1st.
Okay. But if the person goes to India when the petition was not approved, H1B, and
then
still
she
in
will
the
not receive
process,
I-94. Her change of status will not be approved.
Okay.
So the October 1st, the thing will only kick in if she has a valid I-94 that starts from October 1st.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah.
Hello. There is one question in the chat. So it's a continuation to the previous topic that you said. People can have multiple H1s. They can do multiple jobs concurrently, right? So you also mentioned employer need not pay the employee if they are charging more on the timesheet. So they are asking if there are like two different employers and a candidate who is working for two different employers gets paid 40 hours each, can they still get paid 80 hours in total?
Yeah, they can get paid 80 hours in total. They can actually get paid 80 hours for the current employer also. Okay, even if they're working for one employer also, they can get paid 80 hours. But the employer, I said, the employer need not pay 80 hours, more than 40 hours. I said okay, so I think there's a confusion here. What I said initially was, even if you're working 80 hours, right? The employer is actually required to pay 40 hours, but if they want to pay 80 hours, they can do so. Okay, if you're working on using concurrent H1B also, if you're working 40 hours, the employer has to pay 80 hours. So in the second case, the employer has to pay. In the first case, the employer can pay.
Got it, Randy. Thanks for clarifying.
Okay, yeah.
Hello. Hi, Santosh Garu.
Yeah, hi.
I have a question. So can a H4 extension can be applied along with my H1 extension while dependent is in India?
No. So you're applying for H4 extension only in order to avoid the H4 dependent from traveling outside the country. But now that the H4 individual is actually outside the country, all she needs to do is just show your H1B approval at the time of entering into the country, and she will receive her H4 ND4. She doesn't have to get the H4 approval.
I mean, she has to be in US while if I have to apply for H4 extension.
You don't need to. Why does she need H4 extension if she's outside the country? She doesn't need H4 to go for stamping or to enter into the country. All because she needs is just your H1B.
Because I'm transferring my H1 to another employer. So along with that H1 transfer, I'm doing my H1 extension. So my H1 is expiring this September 30. So that's the scenario. So I'd like to.
So when is your wife coming to the US?
Maybe the June 1st week, but I'm looking.
Okay, so while she's coming into the US, ask her to show your she will be coming back using her old visa, and she will show your new H1B approval notice, which is valid for 3 more years.
Okay.
Right, and that way she will get her I-94 for the whole duration for 3 years. She doesn't have to apply for H4.
Okay. So I have one more follow-up question for this. So based on the last action rule, so if I also applied for H1B petition for her, along with the H4 decision is pending. So what is that? Last action.
Yes. So since she has already left the country, right? So if an employer is if she leaves the country while the H1B petition is pending with USCIS, or if she is outside the country at the time the employer is filing H1B, then she will not receive I-94 in the first place. So the last action rule will only apply if the person receives an I-94. Okay, so in your case, assume that your wife was in the US. You applied for her extension of status, H4 extension. At the same time, you applied for her change of status from H4 to H1. Okay. If the H4 gets approved before October 1st, then she will be in H4 from the day she receives approval until October 1st. Right? From October 1st, she will be on H1B. But for H4 is approved after October 1st, right? Then she will lose her H1B status on that day when her H4 gets approved. Does that make sense, Praneeth?
Sorry, it makes sense. So H4 got approved after H1, so H1 will be deactivated. That's what.
Yes,
okay.
She will have the H1B approval, but her I-94 will be H4, so she cannot continue working. She would have to go for stamping again, and then or maybe change employer or whatever to get back to H1B status.
Okay, so I need to apply in the premium processing. That's a good idea for it.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much.
Santosh, there is one question from Rama Andi. So they said she has her green card, but there is a name change that is needed. So she filed for I-90 for name correction. After filing for I-90, while she's waiting for that approval, she had to travel to India and she stayed for more than a year. So her fingerprints is done, everything is done here, but her name change is still not approved and she traveled to India. So
there is another issue in her case. Okay. So if she has already stayed over 1 year in India, right? So typically, unless she has applied for a re-entry permit, she would have to go for what is called a return and resident visa. Okay, that is as per the regulation. But in the recent past, because of the court situation, they have been allowing individuals, even if they have stayed outside the country for more than 1 year, but it's risky. They may not allow her to come back into the country unless she attends returning resident visa.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. The name correction thing would not really affect her status, but this is another issue, like regarding her stay outside the country for more than 1 year.
Hello, Santosh Garu. We want to know that, people staying in a different state and their pay stub is running in other state. Is there any issue?
Yes. So you need to, the employer has to run the pay stub from the place where you're working from. For example, if your client is in Arizona, but you're working from California and you're staying in California, they have to pay the taxes in California because that's where you're working from and residing. Okay. And that's where your employer has to file your LCA that's the address that the employer has to use for your LCA work location.
Hey everyone, in the interest of time, we will wind up in next 15 minutes. And at the end of this call, we will use few minutes for conveying the thank you note, and we'll also post the details of Santosh Reddy Garu's law firm details. So you can directly reach out to the firm and query your questions. And yeah, I just wanted to convey the message. We have a hard stop, and we will close this webinar at 12:30.
Sure. Thank you, Ajay. Santosh, there's one question in the chat, Andy. So they want to know more about the advanced payroll. What are the cons? How is it related to multiple travels and all that?
Good. So advanced payroll will actually allow you to travel outside the country without a visa. Okay, but that does not always guarantee you an entry. And the other thing is you may have to go through secondary inspection for that, but people usually do not have any issues while traveling advanced payroll unless they have any criminal convictions or anything like that. Okay, and they can travel a number of times. They can even stay in India for however long they want to, but as long as they are coming back to the US before their advanced payroll expires, they should be fine.
Got it, Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, Santosh Garu. This is regarding parents' visa. So, as you know, India, we are not getting the appointments. Can they go to any other country and get the visa there if they have that visiting visa there? So let's take the visit UK and 6 months visa on UK visa, and they apply US visa there. Is it any suggestions there? You know?
See, I would not recommend that, but I know people have done that. Typically, you need to attend visa stamping in the place where you're residing. But I know in the recent past, some of them have been able to secure visas in other countries too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, Santosh Garu.
Hi.
This is Shawn. Hey, just a quick question. I have traveled to India due to some personal work. So currently I'm in H1B and single. So just thinking, is it possible to take few months break on H1B?
If you are in India, there's no restriction. You can stay in India. However,
No, I'm here actually. I'm not in India. I'm here in US.
You are here in US and you want to take a break. They need to apply for a change of status.
Whether like B1, B2, is that the only option?
Yeah. Because you could be in because if you are trying to go on vacation, it should be for a reasonable period of time.
So can I change the status of status again from B2 to H1 again?
Yes, you can do that.
So what happened to this amount of time, the 6 months? So can this still be considered as a 6 years period?
No, it won't be considered because of a 6 year period. It won't.
Okay, got it. All right. Yeah, thank you so much.
Hi, Santosh Garu.
Hi.
This is Murli.
Yes.
I have a question. Yeah, I have a question. Like, I'm currently working for an employer, and I got 2 approvals for the same H1B. Before I joined and after I joined, with a recent notice date, I got 2 approvals. Okay. And now I'm transferring my H1 to another employer. So do I need to provide them these 2 approvals or the recent one?
So when you say 2 approvals, were both the approvals with the same receipt number or different receipt number?
Same receipt number, but with a different notice date.
That is fine. Just show them the most recent one, whatever.
Most recent one, because
maybe one was with identity, the other one was without identity. Is that what it is?
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Maybe one of them was either a courtesy notice.
No. I think before I joined them, I think I joined them based on the first approval only. But looks like I applied H4 EAD for my wife through a different employer with the previous employer. Looks like when I switched to this, they denied that H4 EAD and reapproved this one. I guess I'm thinking.
There is something wrong. Can you email me separately?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And one more thing.
If anybody wants to go through these non-compete, non-sustain clauses, any issues with your employers, payment issues, any of this stuff?
No.
Okay.
Santosh Garu, I have one last question, Andy. So, Nadi 100% remote job from the day one. So in the US. So, I haven't planned marriage coming month. So, in India, how long can I stay in India for the vacation? I'll be working still from India.
Yeah,
my employer doesn't have any constraints on that.
There is no restriction. So you should be authorized to work from the soil where you're working from. So as long as you're authorized to work from India, there is no restriction as to how many number of days you can stay outside the US.
Okay, thank you.
And then work. Yeah.
Hi, Santosh. This is Srinivas. In regards to my wife's case, green card gurinchi indaka update chesaru kada. So I'm like prior to 1 year to because of the name change, we could not make her travel, right? Because the green card and the passport రెండు different names ఉన్నాయి కదా. So ఇప్పుడు మీరు
So మీరు ఏం చేయండి అంటే apply for a return resident visa. okay, and explained them the same thing, that there was an issue with her green card, like it had a wrong name. So we made this request, but we still did not receive any approval on that one. So that's why she was waiting on this one. She was waiting to travel back to US and JPSC returning resident visa this one.
Okay, yeah, I did see on that returning visa, like it takes long time, money. So
maybe,
how far, like returning visa?
No, return resident visa time is cool. Like you should be able to contact the, like, yeah, normal visa appointment is going to take.
Yeah, because I see like SB1 visa is for that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so daniki and like 2 types of interviews we have to attend and cheppi chusamu. So looks like a long time and cheppes and so that's where I was looking like what are the options I can.
She could try coming back using her existing green card, but I don't know how much is the difference in the name. Like I don't know in the
ante actually she got her last instead of her last name, na last name వచ్చిందన్నమాట తనకి అండ్ నా లాస్ట్ నేమ్ కూడా కంప్లీట్ గా లేదన్నమాట లైక్ మై డాటర్స్ గాట్ లైక్ మై ఓన్లీ వన్ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ మై లాస్ట్ నేమ్ బికాస్ ఐ డి నాట్ గివ్ కంప్లీట్ నేమ్ ఐ am thinking like USCIS might have,
but that would not stop her from entering into the US though.
Okay, because ante like airlines kani like in India lo immigration kani like they will match the
no
names.
I don't think that will be a problem.
Okay, because when I called in like earlier prior to 1 year itself, airline call
they will be able to verify the date of birth, all the other details, right? And then you can also show your marriage certificate and that this is your other name used.
Okay, so maybe we can try getting.
Yeah, try it.
Okay,
but you
sure.
need to have like the document should actually match with her passport information.
Yeah, I'm like her first name is matching and the last name is the only thing which matches like last name of our daughters. That's the only thing.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And
yeah, thank you.
Promise last question and sorry. I'm on L1 Indy. But H1 lottery got picked up last year and it's approved. But 6 years is coming in this August. But my L1 is till next year August, and also my 140 is approved. So do you have to change of status from L1 to H1 this or before this August?
One second. So basically, you are saying that you have an approved I-140. Was it approved under EB1 or EB2?
EB3 and
EB3. Okay, you have an approved I-140 under EB3, and you're on L1A or L1B?
L1A.
L1A. So you're getting 7 years of L1A.
Yeah, till
right.
next
so
year.
Before that 7-year period expires, apply for a H1B CapEx, because since you already have H1B, right? From before?
Yeah, I have lottery approved last year.
Yeah, apply for a change of employer or like whatever, right? And along with the change of status, use that I-140 and you'll be able to get H1B extension past 6 years.
So I cannot wait till next year. I have to do this year only because that 6 years is finishing this August. H1 is normally 6 years.
No, but see, thing is, you can like. I recommend that you do it this year, or the sooner the better. Okay, but again, even if you don't do it now, since you have an approved I-140, right? They will be able to do it later point of time also. But imagine like USCIS might come back and say that that initial petition was a fraudulent one, that the position did not exist. Right? So I recommend that you change to H1B at the earliest.
It's the same company only.
So the same company. Okay.
Same company, everything same.
Then why do you want to be on L1A? I recommend just changing to H1.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. Can I? How can I reach out to you offline? And
yes, I'm gonna text you.
So we have added the details in the chat. Yeah. Please.
info@somirity.com.
Many thanks. Yeah.
Hi, Santosh. This is the last question. So, as you mentioned earlier, that if you work in different states, that the state taxation applies to the payroll, right? So, but if somebody is working, because these days everybody is working 100% remote, right? Somebody is holidaying in UK and they would like to travel, and like say, for example, if they want to live with their parents for an extended period of time, and they want to work from there. And if the employer is happy to make them work anywhere, so does that mean that the taxation also changes where the person is working?
Yes, there are multiple issues here. Okay.
Yeah.
Number one, if you're working from India for more than 6 months, I guess you have to pay taxes there also.
Okay.
Okay. But you'll be having some address in the US, right? If you are working from the US.
Yeah.
So this is a question for your CPA actually.
Yeah, because
legally you can work from anywhere. Like, as long as your employer is allowing, you can work from anywhere. There's no restriction with that. But when it comes to taxes, you check with your CPA, especially in certain countries, like you have to pay the taxes in those countries also.
Okay, so there might be
H1B, if you're working from India for more than 6 months, you have to file your taxes in India too.
Okay, so there might be double tax implication.
Yeah, but whatever the tax that you pay in one place can be used towards the other one.
So the payroll,
As long as they have the treaty.
So the employer has to notify the government about like this person is working in this remote place.
I'm not 100% sure how that works. So maybe this is a question for your CPA.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah. So
is there any family-based green card?
What's that?
Family-based green card. My sister is a citizen of America. So if I want to apply a green card, is that much of difference?
No. She can sponsor your green card, not an issue. But just make sure your kids don't age out. So I don't know how old your kids are, but if they are young, then go ahead and apply for it immediately.
Oh, they are 10.
So you can do that parallelly along with your I-140. Your employment-based green card will be continuing along with the family.
Got it. Another question is that my wife in the passport of my wife, our father name is wrong actually. That's not matching with her father name passport.
That is fine. So whatever the name in the passport, for example, whatever her father's name is in his passport, right? That becomes his legal name, right? So the name in her passport will be the other name used for his father, for her father. So whenever you're completing any USCIS forms, right? So it will ask for your legal name and then it asks for other names used. Okay. The legal name is the name that is actually present in your passport. So any other variations that you have been using for different purposes, you have to mention it under the other names used.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. I think
one last question I have,
we'll take one last question and then we'll conclude it.
Yeah, so while on L1 visa, how can we apply it for the green card? What are the restrictions? Like how long? Like before completion of the L1, like 7 years?
There is no restriction. There is no restriction as to when you can apply for green card. You can apply for green card no matter what your status is. You can apply for green card whether you're on L1, B1, H1, F1, whatever status. You could also apply for green card even if you're outside the country. So for example, if an employer wants to sponsor an individual who has never been to the US, they can do that too.
Oh, so we don't have to be on L1.
No, you don't have to be on L1 or any other status also.
Okay. So, but yeah, like before our L1 visa is completed, like before 7 years, we need to have green card approved.
No, that is something that your employer is requiring, but there is no such restriction. Especially if you're on L1A, I highly recommend applying for EB1C, the earliest, right? In that way, you can get your green card.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
Thank you,
Santosh.
That's a massive topic, and you showed all your knowledge. Thank you for patiently answering all the questions. Deepika will take over.
Many thanks.
Thank you, Madhu Garu. Yes, that was right. Thank you, Santosh Reddy Garu. That was really awesome. And you took all the questions, completed all the questions. That was really awesome. And thanks to one and all, every single participant. I hope they got all the answers and they benefited from this session. And yes, we would definitely like to extend our sincere gratitude to Santosh Reddy Garu for taking out like time out of your busy schedule to join as our guest speaker of our webinar. Your expertise and insights of these immigration topics were truly enlightening, and I'm sure that our audience found immense value in your presentation. And your contribution to our webinar is highly appreciated, Andy. Your passion and dedication were clearly evident in today's presentation, and we truly appreciate that. And thanks to our TTA leadership for bringing such informative and webinars, which is definitely the need of the hour. Extending our thanks to our AC, EC, BODs, RVPs, RCs, and Standing Committee for your able leadership. TTA is definitely growing and benefiting from all your initiatives. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Deepika. And Santosh Reddy garu, once again, we would like to thank you. We hope to bug you again, in future. We want to, host these helpful sessions for the team, and not just for the team, for the community. And yeah, with that, I would like to ask, I think Manohar garu, if you want to speak few words. Yep.
Definitely, Ajay. Thank you, Santosh Reddy garu. As always, it's a very wonderful session. You could see the questions are flowing like that shows we have we need more sessions actually. So we'll work with you. Fantastic job, Ajay, and the entire TTA team. And thanks to leadership team for giving such a platform to help our community. Thank you.
With that, yeah, I will conclude the event, and we'll talk to you again, folks. Thanks again, Santosh garu. Bye.
Thank you, Santosh garu.
Thank you, Santosh garu.